Hi, this is Alice Pond from the Alice Pond Show. We're here with Sidney and Cindy McDaniels, father and daughter. You know Sidney, he's the award-winning Pulitzer Prize poetry writer.
I don't like to brag.
He wrote the wonderful poem about his son who has CP. Now, what was your son's name?
Sean?
Sean. That's right. And Sean has CP, so what does that mean for the folks out there who don't know what CP is?
CP is cerebral palsy, and what it does is it makes it where you can't move any muscle in your body. At least that's my son's condition. Some have some control of their body, but my son doesn't have any control over any part of his body.
So you have to feed him and change him and clothe him and, stuff like that. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. And I also understand you've been talking to a man who was in a familiar situation as you. He had a son that had an illness such as CP, and he actually he murdered his son. He said he was relieving his son's pain. It's a very sad story. I understand that you went to the jail to talk to him.
Yes, that is correct.
And do you want to tell us anything to set up this clip for us?
Alright, this clip is where I go and question Earl D. Trucks, and it's a very sad story. He had a son who had CP and had, seizures and stuff all the time. And the thing about kids with CP is you don't know if they're suffering or if they can even think at all. So it's kind of like being in a mental prison. And he finally said that he would just end it all for his son, stop all the pain, and he finally ended his son's suffering.
Okay, so let's take a look at the clip. Excuse me.
No large, no touching, no hands in your pockets. Don't give him anything. Touch anything to eat or anything. He's got any pens, pencils, anything, just don't have anything. If you feel threatened by him, just give me a little sign, like a wave or a nod, and I'll be right here waiting. Alright, it shouldn't be a problem.
Hello, Mr. D. Trucks. My name is Sidney. Sorry, I'm not used to the prison environment. So I've been told that your son suffered from...
You're the Pulitzer Prize winner, right?
Yeah, my name is Sidney Daniels.
Your son has CP?
Yes, sir.
Alright. I know who you are. I read everything on kids with CP. You're here to see me, so you probably know who I am, so I won't spare you with an introduction.
So I was told that your son had a similar disease as my son has.
Yes, that's true.
Tell me, how did you feel about your son? How do you feel about your son?
I love my son. I will always love my son.
I was told that you ended your son's life.
That's what ended me up here. My son was in unbearable agony and pain for all his life, and I couldn't take watching him in that state. I love my son too much just to stand by and not be able to do anything while he was in pain. So I did the only thing I could do, and I ended his suffering.
Everybody treats you like a murderer, don't they? They never understand why.
They treat me like all these other convicts and scum in here, like I just upped and killed somebody off the street for money or for greed or hate. No, what I did was not an act of criminal. It wasn't an act of hate. It was an act of love. I did it because I love my son, and I did it because there was nothing else I could do. I couldn't take seeing him in that pain for one more day. I couldn't take it. I loved him and love him with all my heart and soul. But obviously 12 jurors couldn't understand that.
Did it really feel like you ended his life, or ended the life of something that was holding your son's spirit back? Did he die when he had a seizure and lost control of his body?
To me, it wasn't. I didn't feel like I had killed my son or ended his life. It felt like I relieved him of his suffering and relieved him of what had a grasp of him. I didn't feel like this was the end for him, but more of maybe a new beginning in another life. I didn't feel like I took his life. I felt like I ended the life of what had a hold of him.
And if you had to do it all over again, would you?
You know, I love my son, and I love my son with all my heart and all my soul. You're a dad. Your son is CP. You can best understand what my situation was. And parents will give anything for their son. And you're going to stand here and ask me if I would do that again to my son, if I would spend years and years and years of my life in this jail for what I did. Would I do that again?
That's my question, sir.
Yes. Without hesitation.
For your son, you loved him that much.
I love my son more than I love my freedom.
I think that's all we needed to know. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure talking to you, Mr. Detrox.
All right, we're back. So that was a really emotional, that was a really sad, upsetting clip. Cindy actually had to have a tissue, and so did I. It's very touching. Let's go to the audience and see if they have any questions for our guests. Okay. Yes, and what is your name?
My name is Bob Jackson.
And what is your question?
Yeah, my question's for the dad. Have you ever thought about doing this to your own son?
You know, it's very sad to see your son living like this, and nobody can see where any of us are coming from because they don't, you know, some people have seen these special children in perhaps hospitals or something, but to live with them and to see what they go through every day, it is very tough. I know I have not thought about killing my son. I was curious about some people who had.
All right, so let's go to our next guest here that wants to ask one of our couch members a question. What is your name? Hi, my name's Samantha, and I have a question for Cindy. Your skirt is really cute, by the way. Thank you. Have you ever thought about doing this to your own brother? Which one? the one with CP.
Oh. No, I have not. I mean, I love my brother, and I believe he knows what's going on, but you can't just take away somebody's life like that. I love him so much, and the way my father says, I mean, you just can't take somebody's life like that.
Okay, well let's go to our closing thoughts here. Okay, how do you, Cindy, how do you feel about Mr. Detrox? Do you think it's justified that he went to prison? Do you think he didn't get a long enough term? How do you feel about his situation?
Well, it's really hard to say because I don't know every detail about his son. His son may have been worse off than mine, and maybe they just didn't have the means to take care of him, and he could have been, you know, he could have been suffering in more ways than just his illness. So it may have been justified. It's not. I'm not a judge. I'm not a jury. I don't know.
Now, you just said it may have been justified. Would it be justified if I killed your son?
Why? He killed his own son.
How is taking a life ever justified?
It's not justified, but if somebody is suffering, they should have the right to do what they think is right. But they do have to pay the consequences, as Mr. Earl Detrox says.
All right, well, we're going to wrap it up for today. So we're going to say goodbye to Cindy McDaniels and Cindy. I hope you have a wonderful day. This is the Alice Pond Show signing off.